Hello and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gaming World. Thanks very much for joining us today, and if you watch these regularly you'll notice I've lost the beard and I miss the beard terribly. This was a bad idea, as you can see. Anyway, shall we continue with the video and I'll show you what I've picked up recently. So over at the CDI stack we have the notorious rise of the robots. Now, I picked this up because I have a certain nostalgia for it. It was one of the first fighting games I ever played, believe it or not, and I've certainly played much better since. Rise Robots is not a great game on whatever format you play it on. But here it is, I've added it to my collection just because my CDI collection didn't feel complete without owning the... It's got a lovely cover, but and nice robot designs, but yeah, the gameplay is atrocious. And next up, American only release I think, but works on a PAL system no problem. This is The Joker's Wild for CDI, based on the hit TV game show, which I'm not familiar with, so one day when I've got people over here we'll have a multiplayer game of The Joker's Wild. Up to 4 can play, so that should be very interesting. Right, and over here we have Override Mech City Brawl. So this looked cool, this looked like a fighting game to me, so I picked it up. Actually playing it in the single player mode, it's more of a mission based horde mode type of thing, where you play a giant robot and you fight off a horde of enemies. It's not particularly hectic, it's relatively slow paced and a little sluggish, and I'm not really sold on it yet, but it looks beautiful. It's an amazing looking game with some great design in it, but in terms of the gameplay it feels awkward, especially since your limbs are your attack moves basically are tied to the shoulder buttons. So left punch is the left bumper, right punch is a right bumper, and then the kicks are on the triggers. Not sure about it, but it was only $6.99, so not a massive loss. Ooh, the sun is my enemy today, but it's a lovely day in all honesty. Here is Speedy Gonzales. Oh, here's the title. Couldn't quite read it on the front there. Los Gatos Banditos, and I'm very good at pronouncing Spanish words, so I apologise for that, but this is a great platformer from Sunsoft. Sunsoft is usually a seal of quality, and Speedy moves very similar to Sonic the Hedgehog actually, but unlike Sonic, in this game you have to rescue Speedy's friends, so you sort of have to do some exploring in the levels. They're not incredibly large, but you have to find all his friends and then exit the level. It's pretty fun. Lovely colourful graphics, and he belongs to someone called Banal. There you go. The Incredible Hulk is next. This is a PS2 game, as you can see there, but it's a sandbox type game, which is really interesting. So the whole city's your playground for smashing up basically, and there's missions that you can activate throughout the city and usually involve smashing some stuff. It's cool. It's based on the movie, so whenever that came out, the Ed Norton one, but yeah, I like it. It's a recommendation. It's also available on other formats too. And lastly, the Japanese version of 007 Everything and Nothing. I got this because it's kind of a unique release, because it's actually a different cover than the other versions. This features the Japanese Bond girl. Of course it's a Japanese game, so hence why they made that decision. It makes it a fun variant to have in the collection. Unlike what I was thinking though, it isn't like they've totally removed the other Bond girl and replaced her with another character. There was always a Japanese character in this game. She just gets centre stage on the Japanese cover. Okay, here we go. Rise of the Robots. So I thought we'd take a little look at this for those who aren't familiar with the game. So this is a fighting game for CDI. One of maybe the only one-on-one fighting game on CDI. Here we go, look at the little guy. Look at little robots that spasm around as you move up and down. That's the main dude, the main character. Now this isn't a good game at all. This is one of the worst fighting games I've ever played. But it has a lot of other elements you can appreciate. For example, the music's pretty nice. Apparently Brian May from Queen did the music for this game. The robot design's really cool. Overall, visually, for the time, it was quite impressive. However, it doesn't have the gameplay to back it up. It takes a little to load, doesn't it? But here you go. Look at this cyborg guy. Yep, his name's Cyborg. I remember that right. And you're fighting Loader. And nice reflections going on there. But no music in the fight. So you've got Brian May to do the soundtrack, but you haven't used him in the fight. I think this is a CDI issue. It's like the same issue with Christmas Crisis. It has sound effects for the main game, but not music. But the gameplay is very basic, rather poor really. You've got a block button, you've got a punch, and you can jump and kick. So I think you've probably made your mind up whether or not this is a game, keep pressing pause, that you'd want to own. I own it because, well, I've already justified that. I have memories of this game. There's a certain nostalgia, and my CDI collection didn't feel complete without it, but it's not a game I think you need to rush out and get. You can get it on lots of different platforms. I also have the Mega Drive version. I didn't purchase the Mega Drive version, that came in a bundle with another game. But there you go, Rise of the Robots on the CDI. So I've also been playing a little bit on my Switch recently, and the first game I'm going to talk about is a relatively recent release, and that is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. So when I first heard about this, I was a little uncertain whether or not I was going to pick it up or not. I don't like to rebuy games I've already got, and I've got 3D World on the Wii U and I've completed it, and it's a fantastic game, but do I really need to own it again? So what persuaded me to get this was after reading a review of Bowser's Fury, which is called a new mode on this, okay? It's more than just, you know, a new mode or an add-on to Mario 3D World. It is a brand new Mario game. It is a brand new Mario game that will take you a good few hours to get through, and it's really enjoyable. It really is. It's a lot of fun and has some really unique ideas in it. You throw into an open world teaming up with Baby Bowser, who can do as little or as much as you want him to. He just is kind of there to help you defeat a few enemies if you need him. You can set at the beginning of the game how much you want Baby Bowser to do. So you will often forget he's even there. You play through collecting cat shines, travelling between these islands. Well, a giant Bowser attacks you every so often. It's sort of on a timer, so it will start to get stormy, and then out of nowhere, there he is, Bowser. And he's huge, and it looks very impressive, and he throws fireballs at you and such. And if you've got the correct amount of cat shines to activate the bell, the Giga Bell I think it's called, then you can transform into a giant Mario and go head to head with Bowser. So it's really cool. It's very inventive in terms of the challenges within the game. All the cat shines are quite cleverly placed, and you will have to do some really inventive little platforming sections to get them. And it's everything you'd want a Mario game to be. Really, it's a cross between. I guess it's a cross between 3D World and Odyssey. It is an open world Mario game with objectives littered throughout, but it's not as sprawling as Odyssey. You don't travel to lots of different areas. You're all within these islands, and well, different islands are themed slightly differently. You maybe have a snowy one, or later on you do open up an even bigger, another area which is a bit rocky, a bit volcanic. So there is a little bit of variety there in the levels, but it's mostly quite sunny until obviously Bowser attacks. I enjoyed it immensely. I think if you're on the fence about this, it's worth getting just for Bowser's Fury. If you played completely Mario 3D World previously, or it's not maybe your favourite, then it's still worth getting for Bowser's Fury if you're preferable to something. The closest Mario game I can compare it to would probably be Mario 64. I do feel like its core gameplay is essentially that, but with this extra layer of threat on top when Bowser is going to Bowser attacks you ever so often. Anyway, it's a joy to play. It reminded me of why I play Nintendo in the first place. It just brings me so much joy, makes me so happy playing this game, and that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? So, yeah, do think about getting that if you've got a Switch and you're a fan of Mario. Moving on, I'm going to talk briefly about Karate Kid, or actually more accurately, Cobra Kai. And Cobra Kai is a fantastic TV series, and I was really intrigued to play the game. Now, it came down a little bit in price, and I thought, well, go on, I'll take a punt on it. It was still £17, so it wasn't a cheap game. So essentially it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up. And it looks really nice, actually. The 3D models of the characters from the series are very accurate, and enemies are pretty cool. The levels look pretty nice, and they do a little bit of a 3D thing where you can actually move into the foreground and background a little, so actually levels will progress by you actually moving forwards into them. It's a little hard to explain, but you don't see many side-scrolling beat-em-ups that do that. It's got some voice acting from the actors in the series. The actor who plays Miguel, I don't think that's his voice in the game, but the rest of the voices I've heard seem pretty accurate. The actor who plays John Kreese, I don't think he's in there, but you've got Johnny Lawrence, and of course Daniel San is also voiced by the actor who plays him, Ralph Macchio, is it? So yeah, it's quite authentic to the TV show. But I do have an issue with it. It just feels a bit ropey. I don't know if that's the right word. A bit awkward. Something about the gameplay doesn't flow particularly well. And it's not for one to trying, because it really does try. And it maybe tries a bit too hard, because there's lots of sort of special moves, there's lots of abilities. It all becomes a little bit confusing. You use a lot of the buttons on the controller to activate certain moves. I think all the 4 shoulder buttons are used for different moves in a combination with another button, perhaps. And then there's extra stuff like attacking enemies when they're on the ground, and power-ups you can get. To me, it's like I can't think of all these things at once while I'm actually trying to play the game. I think when it comes to side-scrolling beat-em-ups, simpler is better. And Streets of Rage has that layer of, Streets of Rage 4 this is, has that layer of depth, to compare it with that, without bombarding you with different buttons for doing different things. It's there if you want to sort of take it to that next level, but essentially it's a relatively simple game. Whereas Cobra Kai throws so much at you, it's a little bit overwhelming. So it's not bad by any means, but it's not worth, I think, the £17 I paid for it. In terms of production value, it is pretty high, but something about the gameplay doesn't flow very well. I like things like being able to throw your opponent into objects, and there's lots of lovely ideas in there, and it's very well presented, but something feels off. And when the gameplay isn't honed to perfection, that's when you can say perhaps this game isn't that great. Unfortunately, I mean, I think it could be a great game, but there's just too much going on, too much that overcomplicates the core gameplay to make it really enjoyable. Anyway, I've rabbited on long enough. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. We've looked at a few different things here, like we try and do in every episode of Tom's Gaming World. Do let me know if there's anything you want to particularly see more of. Always open for feedback, so write in the comments below. And if you do like this content, then please do subscribe to Blast Process, and also if you enjoyed this video, like the video as well. So until next time, it's goodbye and game on.